I am Elise, a single mom, raising my 7-year-old son Tommy after my divorce 2 years ago. My sister-in-law Sandra has always been cold and judgmental about me raising my child alone. She constantly made snide remarks at family gatherings and blamed me for my marriage falling apart. So when she called last Saturday morning with an unusually cheerful voice, asking if Tommy wanted to spend the day at Wonderland theme park with her daughter Emma, I was completely shocked. For the first time ever, Sandra was actually being nice to us. Before I continue this story, please let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you have ever dealt with complicated family relationships like mine, please hit that like button to show your support. Make sure to subscribe, because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Trust me, you will not want to miss how this seemingly innocent day turns into every mother's worst nightmare. Looking back now, I should have trusted my instincts. But as a single mother, you learn to be grateful for any help, even from people who have never shown you kindness before. My divorce from David had been devastating. I discovered he was cheating with a coworker, and when I confronted him, he turned the entire situation around to make me look like the villain. His family, especially Sandra, immediately took his side. Sandra was married to David's older brother Marcus, and she had always seen herself as the queen of the family. She made it crystal clear that she thought I was not good enough for their precious David. After the divorce, I struggled to make ends meet. I worked the morning shift at a local coffee shop downtown, then came home to take care of Tommy before diving into my freelance graphic design work late into the night. Some days, I barely slept 4 hours. Tommy, bless his heart, was incredibly mature for his age. He would help me pack his lunch for school and never complained when dinner was just peanut butter sandwiches again. Despite everything Sandra had put me through, I still wanted Tommy to have a relationship with his extended family. He adored his cousin Emma, who was 2 years older than him. Every time we attended family barbecues or holiday gatherings, Tommy would light up when he saw her. They would run around the yard together, and for those precious moments, Tommy looked like any other carefree kid. Sandra, however, made sure those moments were rare. She would find excuses to keep Emma away from Tommy, claiming he was too wild or that Emma needed to focus on her studies. At last Christmas, when Tommy excitedly showed Emma his new art supplies, Sandra immediately pulled her daughter away, saying they needed to help with dinner preparations. So when my phone rang that Saturday morning and Sandra's voice came through the speaker, bright and friendly, I almost dropped my coffee mug. I had been enjoying a rare quiet morning sitting in my tiny kitchen while Tommy watched cartoons in the living room. "Good morning, Elise," Sandra said, and her tone was so different from her usual icy demeanor that I actually checked my caller ID to make sure it was really her. "I hope I am not calling too early. Emma has been asking about Tommy all week. She really misses playing with him." I set down my mug carefully, trying to process this unexpected conversation. "Oh, that is really sweet of her." "Well, I was thinking," Sandra continued, and I could hear genuine enthusiasm in her voice. "Maybe Tommy would like to spend the day with us today. We were planning to take Emma to Wonderland theme park, and she would absolutely love to have Tommy join us." My first instinct was suspicion. Sandra had never extended an invitation like this before. In fact, she usually went out of her way to exclude us from family activities. But as I listened to her explain how Emma had been feeling lonely lately and specifically asked if Tommy could come along, I felt my guard slowly dropping. "That sounds wonderful," I said cautiously. "But are you sure it would not be too much trouble? I know how busy you are." "Not at all," Sandra replied immediately. "Actually, it would be perfect. Emma needs someone her age to play with, and Tommy is such a sweet boy. I feel terrible that we have not spent more time together as a family." Those words hit me right in the heart. For 2 years, I had been hoping for exactly this kind of acceptance from David's family. Maybe Sandra was finally ready to move past our differences for the sake of the children. When I told Tommy about the invitation, his face absolutely glowed with excitement. He had been asking for months when we could go back to Wonderland, but theme park tickets were not exactly in my single mother budget. He immediately ran to his room to start packing his little backpack. I watched him carefully fold his favorite Pokemon t-shirt and pack his water bottle, sunscreen, and a small bag of crackers. He was so methodical, so responsible. My heart swelled with pride and also a little sadness that my baby had to be so grown up all the time. "Mom, should I bring my phone?" he asked seriously. I had given him an old smartphone for emergencies, mainly so he could call me if anything happened at school. "Absolutely," I said, zipping up his backpack. "And remember, stay close to Emma and Aunt Sandra at all times. If you need anything, call me right away." "I will, Mom. I promise." He threw his arms around my waist in one of his fierce hugs. "I love you so much. Do not worry about me, okay? I will be super good." As I watched Sandra's pristine white SUV pull into our apartment complex parking lot, I felt that familiar knot of anxiety in my stomach. But Tommy was practically bouncing with excitement, and when Emma rolled down the window to wave at him, her genuine smile made me feel better. Sandra got out to help Tommy with his seatbelt, and for a moment, she actually seemed like a caring aunt. "We will take great care of him, Elise," she said, giving me what appeared to be a sincere smile. "I promise we will have him back by early evening." "Thank you so much, Sandra. This really means the world to both of us." As they drove away, Tommy pressed his face to the window and waved at me until they turned the corner. I stood there for a long time, watching the empty street and trying to shake the uneasy feeling that had settled in my chest. For the first hour after they left, I tried to make the most of my unexpected free time. I cleaned the apartment, did laundry, and even started organizing my graphic design files. But as the clock ticked past noon, I found myself checking my phone constantly. I sent Sandra a casual text. "Hope everyone is having fun, just checking in." No response. I tried calling her phone around 1 o'clock, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hi, you have reached Sandra. Please leave a message." "Hi, Sandra. It is Elise. Just wanted to see how the kids are doing. Call me back when you get a chance." But she never called back. By 1:30, my anxiety was really starting to build. I tried to rationalize it away. They were probably on a ride, or their phones were in a locker. Theme parks were notoriously bad for cell phone reception anyway. I called the main number for Wonderland Theme Park and explained that I was trying to locate my son and his group. The customer service representative was polite, but explained that they could not help locate specific visitors for privacy reasons, unless it was an emergency. "Is this an emergency, ma'am?" she asked. I do not know," I admitted. "Maybe I am just being overprotective." But deep down, something felt very wrong. I tried calling David, my ex-husband, hoping he might have heard from his brother Marcus or Sandra. David was out of town on a business trip, but he confirmed that Sandra had indeed taken the kids to the theme park. "Why are you worrying so much, Elise?" he asked with that familiar, irritated tone. "Sandra loves kids. She would never let anything happen to Tommy. She has never been nice to us before, David. This whole thing just feels strange. You are being paranoid. Just let our son have a good day for once." Our son. Even after everything, David still acted like he was the primary parent, despite the fact that he saw Tommy maybe twice a month. By 2 o'clock, I could not sit still anymore. I grabbed my keys and headed toward my car. I would drive to the theme park myself, maybe spot them in the parking lot, or near the entrance. At least, then I could see with my own eyes that Tommy was safe and having fun. But just as I was pulling out of my parking space, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I did not recognize. "Hello," I answered. "Annalise." It was Emma's voice, but she sounded strange, scared, like she had been crying. My heart immediately dropped into my stomach. "Emma, honey, what is wrong? Where are you?" "Tommy will not wake up," she whispered, and I could hear her sniffling. "Mom says it is just a little prank, but I think something is really wrong. He drank something, and now he will not open his eyes." The world seemed to stop spinning. "What do you mean he drank something, Emma? Where are you? Are you at the theme park?" In the background, I could hear Sandra's voice getting louder and more frantic. "Emma, put that phone down right now. Everything is fine." "Emma, we are not at the park," Emma whispered quickly. "We are at Mom's friend's house. Tommy was being loud, and Mom said he needed to calm down, so her friend gave him some medicine. But now he will not wake up, and Mom says it is just a prank. But Aunt Elise, I am really scared and—" The line went dead. I immediately tried calling back, but the phone was turned off. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely dial Sandra's number. But that went straight to voicemail, too. This was not a prank. This was not kids being dramatic. Something was seriously wrong with my son. I dialed 911 without hesitation. 911, what is your emergency? My 7-year-old son is unconscious. His aunt took him somewhere and gave him some kind of medicine. I need police and paramedics immediately. The dispatcher was calm and professional, asking for details while I gave her Sandra's full name and address. I explained the situation as clearly as I could while racing toward Sandra's house, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. "Officers are being dispatched now, ma'am. Are you able to meet them at the location?" "Yes, I am on my way there right now." The 15-minute drive to Sandra's house felt like it took hours. I kept trying to call both phones, but they were both off now. What had Sandra done to my son? What kind of medicine had this friend given him? And why was Emma so frightened? When I turned onto Sandra's street, I could see police cars already in the driveway. Officer Martinez, a kind-faced woman in her 40s, approached my car as I parked. "Are you Elise Thompson, the child's mother?" "Yes. Where is my son? Is he okay?" "We are just getting to the bottom of this now, ma'am. The homeowner is being very cooperative, but we need you to stay calm while we assess the situation." Sandra answered the door when we approached, and her face was completely drained of color. She looked like she had aged 10 years in the past few hours. "Oh, Elise, what are you doing here?" she said, trying to sound casual, but failing miserably. "The kids are fine. They are just tired from all the excitement today." Officer Martinez stepped forward. "Ma'am, we received a report about a child who may have been given medication without parental consent. We need to see the boy immediately." Sandra's composure cracked completely. Her hands started shaking, and she stammered, "It was not. I mean, he was just being difficult. My friend Lauren, she just suggested something to help him calm down. It was nothing serious." "Where is he now?" I demanded, pushing past Sandra into the house. What I found in the living room made my blood run cold. Tommy was lying motionless on Sandra's cream-colored sofa, his little body completely limp. His face was pale, and his breathing was shallow. Emma was curled up in a chair nearby, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Tommy," I rushed to him and gently shook his shoulders. "Baby, can you hear me? Mommy is here." He did not respond at all. His eyes were closed, and when I lifted his eyelids, his pupils looked strange and unfocused. Officer Martinez immediately radioed for paramedics, while I knelt beside my unconscious son. On the coffee table next to the sofa, I noticed several empty bottles of children's cough syrup. There were at least 3 bottles, all different brands, all completely empty. "What is this?" I pointed to the bottles with a trembling hand. Another woman, who I assumed was Sandra's friend, spoke up from the corner where she had been standing silently. Sandra said he was hyperactive and needed something to calm him down. We thought just a little extra cough medicine would make him sleepy. A little extra. Officer Martinez picked up one of the bottles and read the label. "Ma'am, these are adult-strength medications." "How much did you give this child?" Sandra and Lauren looked at each other with growing panic. We did not measure it exactly," Sandra admitted. "Maybe a few capfuls from each bottle." The paramedics arrived within minutes and immediately began working on Tommy. They checked his vital signs, tested his blood oxygen levels, and prepared him for transport to the hospital. "This child has been overdosed with dextromethorphan," the lead paramedic explained to me as they loaded Tommy onto a stretcher. "It is a serious situation, but we caught it in time. We need to get him to the emergency room immediately for treatment." As they wheeled my unconscious son toward the ambulance, I felt a rage unlike anything I had ever experienced. Sandra stood in her doorway, no longer even trying to pretend this had been innocent. "Elise, please. It was not supposed to happen like this," she called out. "We just wanted him to be quiet for a while. Emma kept asking to play with him, and he was being so loud." I turned around and looked at this woman who had nearly killed my child. "You poisoned my 7-year-old son because he was being too energetic. What is wrong with you?" Officer Martinez stepped between us. "Ma'am, I need you to focus on your son right now. We will handle the investigation." At the hospital, the emergency room team worked quickly to flush the medication from Tommy's system. They had to pump his stomach and monitor his heart rate closely. The doctor explained that dextromethorphan, the active ingredient in cough syrup, could be extremely dangerous in high doses, especially for children. "If you had not brought him in when you did this, could have been fatal, Doctor," Peterson told me as we waited for the treatment to take effect. "Whoever gave him this medication administered nearly 10 times the safe dosage for a child his size." I sat beside Tommy's hospital bed, holding his small hand and watching the monitors that tracked his vital signs. He looked so fragile, so small in the big hospital bed. This was supposed to have been a fun day at a theme park with his cousin. Instead, my little boy was fighting for his life. It was nearly midnight when Tommy finally opened his eyes. He was confused and scared, not understanding where he was or why he felt so sick. "Mommy." His voice was weak and scratchy. "I am right here, baby. You are safe now." "I do not feel good. My tummy hurts and my head feels funny." "I know, sweetheart. The doctors are taking really good care of you. You just need to rest and get better." The next morning, while Tommy slept peacefully after a night of medical monitoring, Officer Martinez returned to update me on the investigation. "We have interviewed both women extensively, and we have also spoken with Emma, with a child psychologist present," she explained. "The story is becoming much clearer now." According to Emma's testimony, Sandra had never planned to take them to the theme park at all. Instead, she drove directly to her friend Lauren's house, where she complained bitterly about Tommy being too energetic and taking attention away from Emma. Sandra told her daughter that they were going to play a funny prank on Tommy to make him sleepy. Officer Martinez continued. "Emma said her mother seemed angry about something, but she was not sure what." Further investigation revealed text messages between Sandra and Lauren from earlier that week. The messages showed that Sandra had been planning this for days, referring to Tommy as "that little brat" and saying she wanted to teach him and his mother a lesson. The most damning evidence came from Sandra's own phone. She had sent a message to Lauren saying, I will show that little brat what happens when he thinks he can just waltz into our family and take over everything. His mother thinks she is so perfect raising him alone. Let us see how perfect she feels when something goes wrong. This had never been about giving the kids a fun day together. This had been a deliberate attempt to harm my child out of some twisted jealousy and resentment that had been building up for years. We are filing charges for child endangerment assault and reckless endangerment, Officer Martinez informed me. Both women will be arrested, though Lauren is cooperating fully and will likely receive a lighter sentence. What about Emma? I asked, thinking about my poor niece who had witnessed this whole terrible event. Child Protective Services is involved now. Emma will be placed with her grandparents temporarily while Sandra undergoes evaluation. When Sandra was arrested later that day, she broke down, completely alternating between tearful apologies and angry justifications for her actions. She claimed that I had turned David's family against her, that Tommy was a disruptive influence on Emma, and that she was just trying to teach him some discipline. But her explanations fell on deaf ears. She had poisoned a 7-year-old child and then tried to cover it up by claiming it was a harmless prank. There was no justification for that. Tommy spent 3 days in the hospital recovering from the medication overdose. During that time, something remarkable happened. David's parents, Sandra's own in-laws, came to visit us every single day. "We are so sorry, Elise," Tommy's grandmother said, tears in her eyes, as she watched him slowly regain his strength. "We had no idea Sandra felt this way. We should have seen the signs." "We always knew she could be difficult," his grandfather added, "but we never imagined she would hurt a child, especially not our own grandson." For the first time since my divorce, I felt like I truly had family support. They brought Tommy his favorite books, helped with medical bills, and most importantly, they made it clear that Sandra's actions did not represent their feelings toward me or Tommy. David cut his business trip short and flew home immediately when he heard what happened. When he saw Tommy in the hospital bed, he broke down crying. "I am so sorry, Elise. I should have listened to your concerns. I should have protected him." "He is going to be okay," I told him. "That is what matters now." But he almost was not okay. My own sister-in-law tried to poison our son because I was too blind to see how toxic she had become. The court proceedings moved quickly since Sandra ultimately decided to plead guilty to avoid a lengthy trial. Her lawyer advised her that the evidence against her was overwhelming and fighting the charges would only result in harsher sentencing. On the day of her sentencing, I gave a victim impact statement that I had spent weeks preparing. I spoke not just about what Sandra had done to Tommy, but about the broader impact on families dealing with divorce, single parenthood, and the challenges of maintaining relationships with extended family. "Your Honor, what happened to my son was not just a momentary lapse in judgment," I said, looking directly at Sandra as she sat with her head down. "This was a premeditated act of cruelty directed at a 7-year-old child whose only crime was being excited to spend time with his cousin." The judge sentenced Sandra to 2 years of probation with mandatory counseling community service and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from Tommy and me. She was also required to complete parenting classes and anger management therapy. More importantly, the court ruled that Sandra could not have unsupervised contact with any children, including her own daughter Emma, until she completed a comprehensive psychological evaluation and treatment program. Emma came to stay with David's parents during this transition, and slowly, carefully, we began rebuilding the relationship between the cousins. Emma was traumatized by what her mother had done, and she needed therapy to process the guilt she felt for not being able to stop it. "I should have called you sooner," she told me during one of our supervised visits. "I knew something was wrong, But Mom kept saying it was just a game. "Emma, sweetheart, none of this was your fault," I assured her. "You were so brave to call me when you did. You probably saved Tommy's life." The therapy sessions helped both children understand that adults sometimes make terrible choices, but that does not make it the children's responsibility to fix or prevent those choices. 6 months after the incident, our lives had settled into a new normal that was actually better than anything we had experienced before. Tommy was thriving in school, having gained confidence from overcoming such a frightening experience. He was more open about his emotions and more willing to talk to me about anything that worried him. "Mom, I learned something important," he told me one evening as we worked on a puzzle together. "What is that, baby?" Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us make really bad choices. But that does not mean we stop believing in love. It just means we get better at knowing who really loves us. His wisdom amazed me. At 8 years old, he had developed an emotional intelligence that some adults never achieve. David's parents became regular fixtures in our lives, helping with childcare and truly accepting me as family. They often said that Sandra's actions had been a wake-up call for the entire family to examine how they treated people during difficult times like divorce. Emma visited us every weekend, and the bond between the cousins grew stronger than ever. She was receiving excellent care from her grandparents and doing well in therapy, slowly healing from the trauma of that terrible day. Sandra moved away after her sentencing, and David's brother Marcus filed for divorce. He said he could not stay married to someone who would hurt children, and the entire family supported his decision. Professionally, my graphic design business grew as I gained confidence in my own judgment and abilities. The experience of fighting for Tommy's safety and justice had shown me that I was stronger and more capable than I had ever imagined. I even started dating again, something I had not thought possible as a busy single mother. I met Michael at Tommy's school during a parent-teacher conference. He was a single father himself, and he understood the challenges and joys of raising a child alone. "You know what I love most about you," Michael told me after we had been dating for 3 months. "What is that? You protected your son with everything you had, and you did not let anyone make you doubt your instincts. That is the kind of parent I want to be and the kind of partner I want to build a life with." Looking back now, I realize that Sandra's cruelty ultimately led to our greatest healing and growth. By trying to tear us down, she actually showed us how strong we really were. I learned that keeping the peace is never more important than protecting your child. I learned that family is not just about blood relationships, but about who shows up for you when things get difficult. Most importantly, I learned that trusting your instincts as a parent is not paranoia, it is wisdom. Sometimes the worst betrayals open doors to the best relationships. Sandra's attempt to harm Tommy led to genuine acceptance from David's family, helped me discover my own strength, and ultimately brought people into our lives who truly love and support us. Today, Tommy and I have built a life filled with people who celebrate his energy instead of trying to suppress it, who see his enthusiasm as a gift instead of a problem. We have learned that our worth is not determined by how others treat us, but by how we protect what matters most. The scar from that terrible day will always be with us, but it has become a source of strength rather than shame. We survived something that could have destroyed us, and we came out stronger, more connected, and more grateful for the people who truly love us. As I watch Tommy play with Emma in our backyard, now both of them laughing and completely carefree, I am reminded that sometimes the most beautiful healing comes from the deepest wounds. We did not just survive Sandra's betrayal, we transformed it into wisdom, strength, and an unshakable bond that will carry us through whatever challenges life brings next. What would you have done if you were in my situation? Have you ever had to stand up to family members who were trying to hurt your children? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please give it a like to show your support for other parents who have faced similar challenges. Make sure to subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming family trauma and finding strength in the most difficult moments. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that they are stronger than they know and that protecting your children is always the right choice, no matter what anyone else thinks. Thank you for listening to our story, and may you always trust your instincts when it comes to protecting the people you love most.